Yo, so 2025, honestly, it's been an absolute shit year so far for UFC title fights and just big fights in general. I mean, think about the last fight that was announced, the last title fight. It was Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. The rematch no one wanted, the rematch no one asked for, and we're supposed to pay $80 for it. I mean, come on, man. $80 for a Sean O'Malley Merab Dvalishvili matchup or rematch? Like, come on, man. But, however, Ilia Topuria just announced or just put on Twitter that his training camp has begun. So, Ilia Topuria is starting a training camp now. He's starting one, so, presumably he's going to be fighting in a couple months, which is really good news. So, this year can still be redeemed. We still have time to make some really great fights this year. Now, my guess is he'll be headlining International Fight Week, UFC 317 in June. So normally we would have gotten that announcement already for a big card like this, like International Fight Week. But we just found out that Dricus du Plessis is injured. And I think the UFC's plan was to have him versus Khamzat Chimaev headline that card. So nothing was announced, but there were some rumors floating around the web and the Twitter sphere that was the plan, was to have Dricus du Plessis, Khamzat Chimaev for International Fight Week. But now that it's come out that Dricus is injured, he won't be able to fight in June, which is disappointing. I mean, I think that's a really good fight, but, I think we'll see that fight this year still, maybe like in the fall or, sometime later in the year. But even so, man, like the UFC was scrambling to come up with a fight for International Fight Week. The frickin' multi-billion-dollar company, the biggest fight promotion in the world, is struggling to come up with a good fight to headline International Fight Week. So it's kind of crazy, man, if you think about it. But now that Dricus is injured, the UFC is kind of backed into a corner, which, can produce some good results. And, they don't have Alex Pereira as champion right now to step up and save every single card. So now they're kind of forced to pull out all the stops. So I'm guessing they told Islam Makhachev, look, man, we'll just pay you a shit ton of money. Please fight Ilia Topuria. And I know there were some rumblings of Islam Makhachev going up to welterweight, depending on how the next welterweight title fight goes between Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena. But honestly, I don't think that was true. His manager did come out and say that was fake news. That was fake news. So it doesn't look like he's just waiting to see what happens between that fight. But even so, man, you have Shavkat Rakhmonov, who was promised a title fight. So he'll probably fight the winner of Bilal Muhammad and JDM. You also have Sean Brady, who just violated Leon Edwards. So, he could get a title shot as well. The UFC probably just told Islam, like, look, man, you're not going to get a title fight at welterweight. There's too many contenders there right now. So just defend your belt one more time. And I think Islam's going to do it. I mean, I don't think Islam has been avoiding Ilia Topuria necessarily. He's probably been negotiating behind the scenes. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Just trying to get a better payday for himself, honestly. Because he knows, man. He knows how big of a fight between him and Topuria would be. So I think it's going to be Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev headlining UFC 317 during International Fight Week, which would be super exciting. Nothing's announced, but Topuria's in training camp. So, I mean, what else would it be? We know Ilia Topuria said he won't fight for anything but the belt at lightweight. He's not going to fight any contenders. He's vacated the featherweight belt. And apparently the UFC promised him a title fight at lightweight. They promised him one. So, presumably, he's going to be getting a title fight. So, we know for sure he's fighting for the belt. Now, if it's not Islam Makhachev, that would mean Makhachev is planning to move up to welterweight. Would be the other option is he's moving up to welterweight, which means he would vacate his belt, and then there would be an interim belt. The problem is, with that, if that was the case, is that no one really deserves to fight for the title right now at lightweight. I mean, you have Arman Tsarukyan. He's the guy who actually deserves a title fight, who's been in the lightweight division. But the UFC is basically punishing him for pulling out last minute against Makhachev back in January. So I highly doubt the UFC would give him a title shot next and just throw him in there, after refusing to give him one. So then you also have Charles Oliveira, who's been calling for a title shot. You have Justin Gaethje, who's been calling for a title shot. But these guys are on one-fight win streaks. Like, Charles Oliveira just beat Michael Chandler, who should absolutely not be a good enough win to get you a title shot. Justin Gaethje just beat Fiziev, who's ranked number 11. So he shouldn't get a title shot. Absolutely not. So, dude, it has to be Islam Makhachev. I mean, it has to be. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's going to be Islam Makhachev, or do you think it's going to be an interim belt? Or do you think it's just going to be a contender? I mean, I don't think Topuria is going to fight a contender. He said he wouldn't. The UFC promised him a title shot. So nothing's been announced, but this post from Topuria really makes me think he's going to be fighting Islam Makhachev. And we're kind of expecting this fight this year, or at least hoping for it. Dude, watch Islam Makhachev move up to welterweight, and then they do like Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia Topuria. That would actually be crazy, man. Paddy the Baddy lad getting his fucking title shot. But dude, I'm so excited for this Topuria Makhachev matchup. To me, this is the best fight we could have made this year. Like, let's think about the matchups we were expecting. So we had John Jones, Tom Aspinall, Dricus du Plessis, Khamzat Chimaev, Topuria Makhachev, which are all amazing fights. I think the Topuria Makhachev fight is the best and biggest fight they could make this year. And 2025, man, it's been such a shit year for title fights. Like these fights are sick matchups, and we haven't had a single announcement yet, and we're like 4 months into the year. Let's just think about the title fights we've had this year so far. We've had Makhachev versus Moicano. I mean, I know Sarukian pulled out last minute with an injury, but the UFC, a billion-dollar company, didn't have a legit backup fighter for that fight. They didn't have a backup fighter, so they just threw Moicano in there. We get pullouts like this all the time. I have no idea why the UFC didn't just take 2 seconds to plan ahead for these types of situations. But anyways, we had Makhachev Moicano. Then we had Dricus du Plessis, Sean Strickland, another rematch no one cared about. We had Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev, which fair play, that was a good matchup. Like that was the right one to make. And then we had Volkanovski and Diego Lopez, which was a good fight. But when Ilia Topuria left the featherweight division, it kind of left some dullness, man, in the division, to be honest. Like, when he left, it doesn't feel like Volkanovski, I'm glad he's champion, but Topuria left, and it's like, if Topuria was there, he'd be the champion. So, that fight wasn't too hyped. But then look at the next 2 title fights we have. We have Belal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena, and then another stupid-ass rematch between Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili. Like, come on, man. 2025 has been an absolute horrible year so far, at least with the expectations that we had. It really hasn't lived up to it. But now we can finally get some momentum going with Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. I truly see this fight as like a 50-50 matchup. I really don't know who I'm going to go with yet, because I kind of see a few things right off the bat. Like Ilia Topuria got taken down and controlled a bit by Bryce Mitchell, and we know Islam Makhachev dominates almost everyone in that regard, but like, we saw Alexander Volkanovski defend really well in his first fight against him. And like, dude, Makhachev didn't really have that much success in the grappling and the wrestling against Volkanovski in that first fight. But we also saw Dustin Poirier, like, he defended really well, and he put up a hell of a fight against Makhachev. And that's an older Poirier. Makhachev is really good when he can get his opponents up against the cage, where he has really nice trips and takedowns, but I don't see Topuria backing up. So I think Makhachev will have to try and get the takedowns more in the middle of the octagon. I don't see him just pushing up Topuria against the cage too often. And we have to remember, Topuria is really good on the ground. He actually has a grappling and a wrestling background. So, striking actually came later for him. So I think with proper training camp, preparing for Makhachev, this will be a really, really close fight. But anyways, do you guys think this is going to be the fight that happens? If so, let me know who you have winning in this fight, and I shall talk to you in the next video. Peace.